What if I told you that everything you believe about the world's most famous painting is a lie? What if her smile isn't a masterpiece of timeless Renaissance genius, but the ultimate product of absolute security, laziness, institutional embarrassment, and a complete historical accident? We grow up believing that true masterpieces hold an invisible, sacred power that commands global adoration. But before August 21st, 1911, the Mona Lisa was just another silent face, gathering dust, largely ignored on a crowded wall inside the Louvre Museum. Her global fame wasn't born from a brush stroke. It was born from a man who decided to wake up, bathe, brush his teeth, eat his breakfast, and pull off a heist that was as simple as ABC. This isn't just an art mystery. It's a gritty true crime story involving an invisible worker, a massive police failure, and a devastating courtroom betrayal that nearly ruined the greatest modern artist in human history. I'm on a quiet Monday morning. A 29-year-old man named Vincenzo Peruggia calmly walks into the Louvre wearing a standard maintenance staff uniform. He blends in perfectly with the morning crew. Why Monday? Because Monday was a closing day. The museum was completely shut to the public for cleaning, meaning the guards were totally relaxed, on alert, and off their game. Peruggia walks straight into the Salon Carré where the painting hangs. He steps up to the wall, unhooks the portrait, and carries it into a hidden service stairwell. Because the panel is heavily framed, he has to manually strip away the outer glass and gilded borders to get down to the raw. This was incredibly easy for him because he had literally helped build that exact protective frame just months prior. He wraps a plain white cloth over the artwork. As he walks toward the exit, another employee spots him. But because Peruggia is wearing the official uniform, the worker couldn't care less and lets him walk right past. Just like that, the portrait vanishes into the Parisian air. This is where the light-hearted caper vanishes, and the story takes a devastating psychological turn. It took the Louvre an embarrassing 27 hours to realize the painting was even missing. And it only happened because a casual outsider started asking questions. When the truth hit, shit completely hit the fan. The police immediately locked down the building, trapping hundreds of innocent visitors inside for hours to conduct aggressive, strip search-style inspections. They scoured every inch of the 45-acre property, but all they found was the discarded, empty frame. Border controls were locked down across France. Forensic experts even found a perfect fingerprint on the glass. But in a staggeringly silly mistake, they couldn't match it because the smudge was from a left hand, and the police system only indexed right hand. Blinded by panic and under extreme political pressure, the police offered a massive 25,000 franc reward, which immediately backfired, flooding detectives with inaccurate, highly misleading tips. Out of pure desperation for a scapegoat, they turned their sights onto the radical modern art underworld. And that is when they dragged in Pablo Picasso and his brilliant companion, the poet Guillaume Apollinaire. Years before, Apollinaire's eccentric secretary, a man named Pierret, had stolen small Iberian stone statues from the Louvre just to mock how pathetic the museum's security was. Pierret sold 2 of those stolen artifacts to Picasso, who used their striking, primitive facial structures to paint his Cubist masterpiece, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon. When the Mona Lisa disappeared, a terrified Pierret sent an anonymous letter to a newspaper bragging about his old thefts. Picasso and Apollinaire suddenly realized they were holding stolen state property. Terrified of a setup, they packed the statues into a suitcase at midnight and hurried down to the Seine River, intending to sink them forever. But as artists, they couldn't bring themselves to drown the history. Instead, Apollinaire quietly surrendered them to a newspaper
The suitcase right back to Apollinaire.
He was thrown into La Santé prison for a week and brutally interrogated as an art syndicate kingpin. Then, they dragged Picasso into the courtroom. This is the emotional core of the tragedy. Imagine being Picasso, a young, passionate immigrant standing on the absolute edge of rewriting the future of modern art. If convicted, you face years of hard labor and permanent deportation back to Spain. Your life, your dreams, and your art will die. Confronted by the stern judge and looking at his weeping friend in chains, Picasso completely broke down in tears. To save his own skin, he pointed at his closest companion and famously lied. "I have never seen this man." Quote. The judge eventually realized neither man had a single thing to do with the Mona Lisa and dismissed the charges. They walked out free, but the damage was done. The raw sting of that ultimate courtroom betrayal permanently fractured their relationship, leaving a deep, lifelong scar. Picasso secured his freedom, but he left a piece of his soul on that courtroom floor. And the ultimate kicker? While Picasso was weeping in a cold cell, the real breakthrough didn't come for 2 long years. The mind-bending plot twist was that the painting was never hidden in some elite criminal bunker. It was just a couple of miles away from the Louvre all along. Vincenzo Peruggia had simply tossed the masterwork inside an ordinary wooden trunk in his messy apartment, casually eating his daily meals right on top of it. But eventually, he needed the cash. He boarded a train to Florence, Italy, and checked into the modest Hotel Tripoli. He drafted a letter claiming ownership of the portrait, signing it simply as Leonardo, and sent it straight to an art dealer named Alfred Jarry. Amazed and deeply skeptical, Jarry immediately consulted the directors at the Uffizi Gallery. They organized a meeting at Peruggia's hotel room on December 11, 1913. The moment they pulled back the false bottom of his trunk and verified the authentic stamps, they knew it was her. Playing it completely cool, they convinced Vincenzo to walk back to the gallery under the pretense of verifying its authenticity. The second she was safe behind their locked doors, they called the police, and Peruggia was arrested without a fight. Vincenzo was sentenced to just 7 months in prison, and exactly 10 years later, he died. But the legacy he left behind changed history forever. The world's most famous painting wasn't born out of artistic genius. It was created by a missing doorknob, a terrible hangover, alibi, and a 24-hour security blunder. When you look at her smile, are you actually looking at a masterpiece of the High Renaissance? Or are we all just completely obsessed with it? Ultimate survivor of a true crime drama? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more history stories hidden in plain sight. See you in the next video.